We're good. Yeah. Well, we're back in the gym tonight so that we could allow for a family function to happen downstairs at the hall. We're just doing our best. So I know last time we were downstairs, tonight we're here. We expect to have a little bit of that juggling going on while we make it all work. But aloha and welcome to our community meeting in Lahaina. We are broadcasting live on social media as well as on Akaku. We're going to go through a few things, but before we start, just a reminder that Food Bank, who was here and did a presentation a couple of weeks ago, the last community meeting, they're right there in the on the side. Please wave. Please go to them if you want to sign up for any of the food bank programs or get more information. They're wearing their very official looking food bank shirts. Please wave again one more time right at the very end. Okay. Oh, they're all waving, food bank or not. So that's okay, all in the aloha. We have FEMA tables on the far end. We have language translators, and we have crisis counselors here present as well. If they can wave, they're to my right, standing up there. Okay, great. Oh, okay. Just a reminder, please call and use 211. We want to remind you that every week, whenever you need to access a disaster case management support and help, call 211. Someone live will walk you through whatever you need for whatever your situation is or whatever resources that you need to be connected to. And as always, our crisis counselors are here tonight, as we showed you, but they're available 24/7 by texting 988, or if you have an 808 area code, you can use the phone number there, 832-3100. You can also chat online at any time. These slides are shown on our social media recording, so you can always visit the recording of the meeting later. And then you can also see the slides that come up. We actually post them on there to help folks who have bad eyesight like me. But MauiRecovers.org is also our source. Tonight, we have a wonderful opportunity to learn more about Kako'o Center, which many of you have seen. But before we hear from them, we're going to get an update from our friends at Army Corps of Engineering on the debris cleanup status. We're going to share a little bit about an alternative debris removal. What happens if you are not part of the debris cleanup that's going on right now through Army Corps. And we're going to hear from Four Leaf, our contractors for the Recovery Permitting Center. And then we'll bring up Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement. You know them as CNHA. They're going to talk a little bit about Kako'o Center and what the programs and services are that they provide. Before I bring up Mayor, I just want to remind everyone, we are continuing with our neighborhood planning workshops. We just had one June 1st for the Lahaina Town North. And coming up, I need a new battery. There we go. Coming up on June 15th will be Lahaina Town South. Just as we've announced in the earlier previous meetings, this meeting is at Lahaina Luna High School. The doors open at 2:30. And come early, talk story, visit. Our community planning team would like to start at 3 o'clock. And this is for residents in the area south of Lahaina Luna Road, including the area known as Shark Pit and the Puamana area. On Saturday, June 29th, the last Saturday of June, this one you can attend whether you're from the area or not. This is for historic and business districts. It's a planning workshop for Lahaina residents to attend if you have an interest in it. Same place, Lahaina Luna High School, 3 o'clock. So in this workshop by the county's community planning team, they'll be going over things specific for the historic and business district. All right. We recently had, remember we talked about our first attempt at a webinar. So we did 2 homeowners workshops, one in person. We almost 500 people at that one right here. Then we tried a webinar. because we wanted to see, for those who could not be here, and we heard from people out of state temporarily living off island, how did they participate? So our team did a virtual homeowners webinar. 453 people registered. 350 actually attended online. Phenomenal number. Pretty close to what we have in person. You can watch the recording at mauirecovers.org. A lot of questions were answered on that one. We're going to keep going with the webinars. We feel it's an effective way. It's a recording. The answers were provided that night. And so the last week of July, we're going to come back to you on which exact date. But we'll keep going with the webinars to keep trying to get information out there. That seemed to have worked. How many of you attended the webinar? Raise your hand. Oh, okay. Good turnout, including Colonel Swenson. Thank you, Colonel, for attending. But that was very helpful to do. I want to encourage people to sign up for notifications. MauiRecovers.org. You sign up for notifications, you get an email or text alert reminding you. You also get, they call it the weekly roundup. MauiRecovers.org has had, I think, about 14,000 folks that view it per month. They get a number of questions that come in, super helpful. I will tell you, we learned quite a lot of things about Maui Recovers. We're working on refreshing that site so that we can manage the new phase of recovery. We just information dumped a whole lot into this fantastic website. We met with the folks that run the website, and we're looking to update it a little more as we enter the next phase of recovery. We had a question a couple of weeks ago. Sorry, we're getting here. How do we give you the answers to questions asked? So we did a little hunting to see how do we do it today. I have to tell you, I learned a lot. I learned that we get, last month alone, through all the different channels, we got over 500 questions from the public. So our team goes out and they try to answer it. Sometimes you see it at the meeting. Sometimes you get it in like a webinar. It comes in different ways. So it's not the best way that we're managing it, which is why we had a great meeting with our webmasters. We're looking for a way to categorize it, make it easier for the public to use so that when you type in something, you get it. You don't have to read 400 articles to get that one answer that you need. So we recognize that that's a challenge. We are definitely going to move forward on making that simpler. For now, I want to answer the 4 questions that came up at our last meeting. There was a strong sentiment on the cruise ship that was seen on April 18th, what appeared to be hovering offshore of Lahaina. I want to tell you that we've spent the last week in discussions with the visitor industry folks, spoke to Hawaii Tourism Authority. We are attending a meeting to convey the sentiment of Lahaina's community about cruise ships not hovering. There are many things involved, including international waters, including, maybe they were going 5 knots because of the weather conditions, ocean conditions. So it looks like they were stalling, but they really were operationally doing that. But just to be sure, we're going to have that meeting with them and convey the community sentiment. The issue of cruise ships staying offshore and looking at our town at this time was not felt to be appropriate. So we're conveying that directly with the industry. There was a question about the status of the pool and the aquatic center. It's still being worked on as far as the assessment. Parks Department leadership will be coming in July to offer an update on where we are and where we're going. It has not changed. I think the question was, can we open the pool by August 8th, the 1-year anniversary? It's far more complex than that at this stage, but they will come and give you all an update. The question on Lahaina bypass, happy to say that Ed Sniffen, the head of the State Department of Transportation, will be here 2 meetings from now. He'll be able to give you all an update and answer questions about the Lahaina bypass and anything regarding the work that the Hawaii State Transportation Department does. And for permitting questions that came in, We have 4-leaf. They were unable to come last meeting. They're here tonight, so they can take many of those questions if it was not answered at the homeowners meeting that many of you attended. So please feel free. I think they have a slide deck tonight, so it may already be answered to at that time. At the end of tonight's meeting, as we always do, we'll open up for a Q&A session. Raise your hand. We ask for respect at that time, and we'll run the microphone through the bleachers here for all of you. I'm going to turn this over to Mayor Bisson, there we go. He's going to talk a little bit about whatever he wants to talk about.
Aloha, ohana. Thank you, folks, first of all, for shifting from the social hall to here tonight. Appreciate you guys' flexibility. Every now and then, this might happen where we run into. Obviously, somebody from Lahaina is having a social event tonight, so I hope you guys are happy for them that they're being able to hold their event tonight over there. So I think that's a good thing that we do that. That's available. I wanted to thank Heidi for giving me the sleigh when I walked in tonight. Heidi, thank you for that. I want to acknowledge members of our advisory team, Lorile De Gama. I saw Mr. Kimball, Kaliko Lehua Storer. So thank you folks for coming and for the work you guys do for your community the whole week, not just on Wednesdays when we come here. So thank you folks. I was asked to talk a little bit about a trip I returned from with Council Member Tamara Paulton, and I'm sure she can pick up on issues or areas that I don't cover. There were about 15 folks. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Japan funded this delegation. The idea was for us to go over there. What you probably don't know, and some of you may know, but I'll remind you, March 11th, 2011, an 8.2 earthquake hit the area of the Fukushima prefecture. That triggered a tsunami, and that triggered a disaster at their nuclear facility in Fukushima prefecture. We were able to go to areas that may sound familiar. The town of Namie is where this hydrogen factory is. I think one of the most important things to know about what happened to them is they lost almost 20,000 people on that because of that occurrence, because of those 3 disasters. We learned a lot about how they've recovered. They are still recovering in 2024. But they did some amazing things, and we were able to witness that, learn from that, bring it back here, and try to incorporate that into our situation. The reason the hydrogen factory was important to know about is Japan is one of those countries that doesn't have energy sources available to them. For example, fossil fuel, oil, other things. So they import most of their energy. So they took the step of putting in nuclear reactors, which I think you all understand are highly volatile, but that was what they needed to do to get energy for their country. And the hydrogen factory is what they're incorporating. Small connection, Mitch Roth on the Big Island is also trying to incorporate hydrogen on that island. So we'll wait to see if that's a viable. The 2 things about hydrogen is it's highly volatile and it's very expensive as a form of energy. But we learned from that. We can go to the next slide, wherever my slide presenter is. This was us at the Tohoku Hospital, the folks who handled most of the disaster, the victims and survivors that came through there. It was an incredible story that they told. Just before this, we were at Tohoku University, where they specialize in pre-disaster preparedness. Pre-disaster preparedness. Again, something that we can learn from and incorporate in our own county. And I think there might be one more slide. As council member and myself, we are at you can say the community disaster platform. This was at the Tohoku University. We're hoping that we can bring some of their experts here. This is just a snapshot. We were there for about 4 days. But the information, Kimball, as I mentioned earlier, if you have questions, he was on that trip, as well as Council Member Paulton. So I won't get into any more of it except to tell you there was it was worth the journey and worth the information we received. Tonight, we're going to have a lot of speakers, so I'm going to leave the time for them. Feel free to ask questions as they come back up later. I did want to say hi to Junior. Thank you for coming here tonight. Thank you for your testimony yesterday at the hearing. And thank you for the work you're doing with your community, for your young people as a coach on your volleyball, on your baseball team. Glad to have you here tonight. All right, tomorrow.
Aloha mai kako. Thank you everyone for coming. Before I start going into the Japan slides, one of our nonprofit partners wanted me to emphasize and remind you folks that although all the water lines are charged, not all of them are safe for drinking. So you may turn on your tap if you live in the L5 or L6 zone and water comes out, but it's not safe to drink, not safe to boil, not safe to bathe in. And if you don't know which ones are safe, right now it's on Maui County Recovers.org, and then you go to the map. So the map, the orange section, don't drink it, don't boil it, don't wash your hands, don't bathe in it until the unsafe water advisory gets lifted. The nonprofit partner was thinking of maybe partnering up to put physical signage for folks that aren't ma'a to the computers and the websites, possibly going door to door and letting folks know that until that unsafe water advisory is lifted, you got to check the map that you're in an area that the water is safe. So they just wanted me to emphasize that point, and possibly we can do some physical signage going forward. The other thing I wanted to mention was today we passed second reading of the budget, and that was a main reason that my attendance on Wednesday nights been sporadic since April, because we were going out into the community, we were having late nights deliberating, but it's finished and we passed the second reading of a balanced budget and funded a lot of the programs. So just a little update from the council side and people that are telling me things. This is a few of us that were in the delegation that went to Japan, and this is at the Tokyo American Club. The US-Japan Council helped put together the program that we went to, and I put this here to share. On this day, we went to the NEC and this meeting, and it was kind of the whole day to me. What we learned about was AI, kind of artificial intelligence. And my impression on it was the whole spectrum. We seen things that to me kind of creeped me out a little bit, generative artificial intelligence, and also things that made me feel like I need that in my life. And so it was really a conflicting experience for me. And at the end of the day, the way I came to terms with it is this technology, and Japan loves technology. Just go into their bathrooms and you'll see. But this technology is basically just a tool, and it depends on how you use it and how the information is used. And some of those things that we're using, like Sims for evacuation routes, there's different platforms, different ways to use it. And what I took away from Japan is some of this technology will help us to be better prepared, to have safer evacuation routes, to do more of the tedious work. But we still need humans, we still need to use that, and we still need to double check the information. So I came back and I told our Office of Council Services, hey, we use the Microsoft suite, we should also check out Copilot or Nota, because when I'm not here, I go back and I watch the meeting to take notes on it. There's an app for that, and then I'm not spending 3 hours taking notes off the meeting, and you guys could do the same too, or I can just print out those notes. So AI is a tool. Some of it is creepy, and some of it we might need it in our lives. Next slide. Okay, and this is the evening. This gentleman right here, his name is David Nguyen, and he's actually from Honolulu, and he works at Tohoku University, and he's going to be relocating to back to Oahu, working with the Department of Defense. But he is one of those folks, like Mayor Bisson said, that works in the disaster sciences field. And one of the big things that struck me is you gotta network. You gotta network with the other people that live through these experiences, because they can tell you things that nobody else can tell you. You can't learn it in a book or in an article. For example, on our way from the train station to Namie in Fukushima, one of the government workers was telling us the whole timeline of first, there was this big earthquake. And then within the next 45 minutes, there's this huge tsunami affecting 12 out of their 47 prefectures. And then over the course of the next 2 days, they were dealing with the nuclear accident. And he brought in the stories of his family. His parents lived 17 kilometers away, and the evacuation from 2 kilometers to 5 kilometers to 10 kilometers to 17, and on and on. So he brought that human component of what they were dealing with. Like, they were waiting for a power generator to stop the overheating of those nuclear reactors. Was supposed to arrive in 1 hour. They didn't hear from them in 1 hour. Come to find out, they were there, but they had the wrong size plug. And so the nuclear reactors kept blowing up and causing more damage. So, I mean, to hear straight from the people that actually worked for the government at that time and still worked for the government today, and went through 13 years and continuing to clean up and continuing to, move forward. It was, for me, inspiring, to just, we're gonna keep going on for years and years and years. And then if this happens, any kind of disaster happens to anyone else in the future, we can be their inspiration going forward. And this last one, this guy shaking hands with Mayor Bisson is the mayor of Namie. That town started out with 17,000 to 20,000 population. He was a council member at that time. He came back to Namie. Right now they have a population of 2,000. And now he's the mayor. But some of the things that they talked about, he met with each household to get a sense of, are they gonna come back? Are they gonna wait? Are they not coming back? And find out about the rebuilding. The other thing we learned about was like land adjustment. They wanted to make the roads safe. Like many centuries ago, Tokyo had this huge fire back when it was called Edo. And when they rebuilt it, they rebuilt the roads wider. So although Tokyo is a very old city, it looks modern because in rebuilding, they took into effect that, we need wider streets, or we need to move away from the ocean, or if we build back where we were, we need to be higher up than what the tsunami was. So like they cut and fill. So those were just a few of my takeaways. This lady in the back here, Royanne Doi, she was not shy, but she was shy, and she just kept us going. She kept pushing us to say, like, how are you gonna make this relate to Lahaina? How are you gonna help use this information and help Lahaina? And so, very grateful to the US-Japan Council for just taking us out of the situation where we kind of have blinders on, just looking at what needs to be done, and take a step back and look at the bigger picture of what's possible and what's been done before. So hopefully more things come out of it, the networks that we made and the collaborations, not only amongst us and Japan, but between us and the delegation. Chancellor Hokoana was there. Afterwards, he was talking to the president of UH about having maybe a disaster science track for our kids, so that we have a lot of people to choose from when it comes to the next emergency management administrator and all folks in that field. And people have a general sense of, we are somewhat alone in the Pacific. And the more people we train to be prepared for any kind of disaster, the better off we'll be. So just a little bit of the things that we did over a 4-day period. They really like to plan your day out to the 10-minute mark. So we were in a new place every day and just traveling. So I'll share more over the course of a month.
Thanks, Councilwoman. Aloha. How's everyone doing? Great. I'm going to talk to you about AI tonight. A different AI. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about roads. I'm going to talk to you about debris, and I'm going to talk to you about housing. So first I want to talk about baseball. I'm so glad we're back in this space here, and I'm back in the box here, and that Mahina put me fourth in the batting order. Because you know what fourth is, right? I'm batting cleanup. And so let's talk about cleanup. Let's talk about AI, which I think is not artificial intelligence tonight. It's going to be Army improvement. So let's talk about Army improvement. So as of about an hour ago, we have 1,183 residential lots that have been cleared of their primary debris. And we are chasing a different number, a new number tonight. I'm gonna let everyone in on a little secret. It's 1399. That's the number right now that we're chasing. That's the denominator that we want to get to, which puts us at about 216 properties short. Now, of those, we don't have rights of entry for 48, so we're continuing to work those, and I appreciate everyone's help. Many of you called me, and you're trying to help your neighbors, help all of us get those rights of entry completed, so I appreciate that, and we are continuing to work with our friends at Tidal Basin and the county to get those done. Now let's talk about Capital C Complete. We are 666 properties, Capital C Complete. That means the paperwork has been submitted back to the county. We have given up the right of entry, and that means you are one step closer to working with 4-Leaf to get your building permit for the reconstruction. So 666, capital C. And in commercial, we have 39 cleared and 16 complete. And for commercial, we're chasing 159. That's our denominator we're chasing. So we're making great progress, and I appreciate all of my help. I tell all the folks in red over here that you're all my spies. You're out there helping find all the properties that are frustrated and working to get those in the program. Because really, the great thing about batting fourth, which is cleanup, that if I do my job well, Erin will come up here and have nothing to say, right? She'll just have to get herself a base hit and get on base. Okay. Let's talk a little about housing. Housing, the Kilohana site, we are making great progress. It looks like, if you drive by and the bypass look up, it looks like a construction site. We are making great progress. We got some sewer lines put in today, some manholes, and that project is truly all gas and no brakes. Because we know the #1 issue around here is housing, and we're trying to do our little part to help the community. As I mentioned earlier, there's still a few properties that we haven't had any contact with the owners, and we are working very closely with the county and those property owners to do everything we can to get them at least to consider signing up for the debris removal program. What else did I want to talk about? I guess the last thing I'll say is we've cleared about 2,600 vehicles from Lahaina town, and our denominator there, the number we're chasing, is 3,523. So across the board, we are making great progress, and I appreciate seeing everyone here tonight. I just got back. I was off island for a couple of days, but I rushed back, Mayor. I rushed back. I won't say I sped here, but I did the speed limit the whole way to get here to participate in this meeting and to share all the great news that's going on. So mahalo. Oh, sorry. I told you I was going to talk about routes, and I got distracted by AI. So this is about as simple of a map that we can put together to describe the routes that trucks going into Kilohana will take. And if I was a good colonel, I'd have a digital a pointer, but I don't, so I'll use my trusty pen for a backup. So we are working with the state site. This is what we're calling the Upper Cane Road. So construction vehicles will come off the bypass. We'll take this newly improved Upper Cane Road. We'll drop in to Kilohana, or the state's construction site, Kealeola, to here, and then they will exit through Fleming Road. That's the primary. Back down to Hanoapi Ilani Highway, back through the impacted area, and to head south. For our four-wheeler traffic, so these are the small, just pickup trucks, the vehicles that take the workers to the construction site. They're going to come up Wahikuli Road, enter into either the state site or the USACE's site, and they're going to exit Fleming Road. That way they get the traffic light at Fleming Road, so it's safely move those vehicles down Hanoapi Ilani Highway. The alternate route, if we're doing some work on Fleming, we will take Aina Kia to Kapuna Kia and out to that traffic light. That's an alternate route. That's not a primary. And then as an emergency route, if we're in a jam, we'll take the Lower Cane Road out down Kiawe Street and then through Hanoapi Ilani Highway. So that's about as simple as I can make it. So that's where the traffic is. It's coming in and out of these two construction sites. That's how they're moving. As things change, as you know, if there are issues with sewers or we have to close roads temporarily, we will put out updates so everyone knows what the new traffic patterns will be. But this is going to be what as of right now, this is what is our go-to for traffic planning, and we believe that it'll minimize impacts to residents who are either trying to come back in and build, who are maybe there's homes that weren't impacted or weren't burned by the fire. They'll be able to still move around those vehicles in a safe manner. Again, we're here to manage public safety. We want that as first and foremost, and the safety of our crews, all while staying focused on getting debris removed and the housing sites built. Mahalo.
Aloha Maui families. I'm Erin Wade. I'm with the Department of Management. Most of you know me now as the ROE lady. So I'm here to fill you in on where we are with rights of entry. As of last night, 2005 rights of entry have been approved and delivered to the Army Corps of Engineers. So our denominator is 2,176. So we're 92% there, which is really, really great. Congratulations to everybody for all of your hard work getting those in. We do have several still in process. Under 100 are being processed right now that need more information. And then we have 19 properties, only 19 remaining with no right of entry, with nothing having been filed yet. So just so you know, the deadline to file is June 15th. So if you know of folks who haven't filed yet, please encourage them to do so. If they don't choose to go with the government-sponsored cleanup program, they do need to file to utilize the alternative debris removal program. The information for that is available on mauirecovers.org. The application is there, so you just click on the button that says apply here to enroll in the alternative debris removal. What I do need to let folks know is it is required to file with one of the two programs because cleanup is necessary for safety of the community. So if you haven't enrolled in one or the other by June 15th, the Department of Public Works is going to be issuing violation letters. So be aware of that. If you are in process and have started your right of entry, but it's not complete, you may still get a violation letter. Don't panic. call the number on that violation letter and let the department know what your intention is. And we'll work with you to make sure you're able to get the property cleaned up safely. That's all for me tonight. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Regina Dela Cruz. I'm with Project Manager for Four Leaf, working out of the Recovery Permit Center in Kahului. Oops, I'm going to mess this up. Okay, so this is an update on how the office is going. We get about 10 walk-in, 10 customers per day. About 20 to 30, our phone calls have gone up. It seems like the phones are ringing off the hook on a daily basis. So I'd say an average of 20. We are getting closer to opening the Recovery Permit Center here in Lahaina, and I think we're looking at mid to end of July. So permits, these numbers have actually changed a little bit. We submitted this Tuesday. So I can say we have a total of 80 permits as of 3:30 when I walked out of the office today. That number, we have issued 10. So we've increased that in the last 2 days. So 10 of the 666 completed properties have been issued so that building can start. What else do we have? We have in review still is 54. 4 of those in review is non-residential, which is multifamily, and that is actually Kahoma Village. So the 4 structures with the 6 condos each has been submitted and routed to planning. So that was a big step forward. And then submitted means in the queue to be taken in, and that number has gone down from 9 to 3. So we only have 3 permits waiting to be taken in, and I think those are from yesterday. So we're doing pretty good on our timelines. This is a slide that lists the required forms. You can find this online under CSS Maps, and then when you get to the CSS Maps website, you'll see at the very top red flashing words attention, and you click on that link and it'll take you to these forms with a bunch of information, more information than you probably want to read. There's also additional forms. Again, all of this is online. Timelines right now for permit intake, we're about 2 to 5 days. We're pushing for 1 to 3 days, and that's kind of where we are as of now. Like I said, we were at 9 on Tuesday. We've only got 3 in the queue, and we'll get those taken in by the end of Friday. Plan review is an average of 15 business days. And then looks like other potential timeline factors are if you've submitted your project and it's in any of these specialized zonings, we are required to send your project to planning or possibly other county departments. What's the other one? And then one note I think we're trying to say here is communication and changes during plan review. That 15 days is only as good as it takes for you to get back to us. So if we send you your comments within 10 business days, and then your architect or engineer takes weeks or maybe even months, that'll increase that 15 days. So it's just a matter of how fast you get back to us. We can get your permit issued. This is the contact information. We're currently at the County of Maui office in Suite 207. We're open 8 to 4 Monday through Friday. We do try to get out of there for lunch between 12 and 1 or 12:30 and 1:30. There is, except for lunch, there is always somebody there to answer the phone. So if you cannot find somebody, just call the direct main line and we will answer and do our best to answer your questions or find them. If you want to, this is our email or our phone number, direct line, email, and then Mike Renner, who is our project manager building official for Four Leaf. And that is it.
Aloha, everyone. We represent Council for Neighborhood Advancement. We are the leads for the Kako Maui Resource Center at the Maui Mall. A little bit about us. We offer a various range of programs and services that benefits anyone who's been impacted. We'll go over most of them today, just kind of see them on the screen. I'm Kukui Kiahi. This is Dustin Kaleopu. We are leads there, as I mentioned. So just an idea of our center. Our name is Council for Neighborhood Advancement, but we do focus on the entire community as a whole. So just so you know, don't let our name distract you, okay? We offer a wide variety of services, as I kind of mentioned earlier, but just an overview, we do housing pathways. We do work with FEMA and SBA in our office. We help with right of entry. We are working with AIA to do some rebuild stuff. We'll go in a little bit. We do have legal aid, financial counseling. We do offer mental health throughout the week, application assistance, and the federal services as well. For those of us that don't know, the easiest way for me to tell you where we are is across Guri Guri. So some of the housing pathways, the best way to see our website is through helpingmaui.org. We have a variety of services listed on that website, a bunch of variety of links to connect you to the different things that we can help you with to either plan for current housing now or what's to come in the future with rebuild. One of the things that we started with last year was our host housing support. This was to any family or friends in the state that took in anyone that was impacted by the fire and did not charge them rent. We know bills went up, things happened. So if any of you are currently being housed by a friend or family member or know anyone that is and they're not charging you rent, we do offer a stipend to them. It is $500 per person. It maxes out at a total of 4, so $2,000 per household. So if any of you know anyone or if you are part of that, please reach out. We do have funding still. One of the biggest housing pathways that we offer that we've seen very successful recently is our GAP assistance program. This was started with the intent to help cover that gap or that supplemental missing piece of the rent. We know that rent has gone up astronomically. Just for an overview, the pie chart, due to what was stated that the monthly one-bedroom rate in Lahaina per the rates that were issued out is $5,000. We use a combination of either your FEMA, CTHA, I'll go over that in a second. If you have personal funding and or if you have insurance, you'll pay that portion to us and then your personal portion would be given and then CNHA would still come in with a gap on the backside to help alleviate some of that stress of making sure your rent is paid on time. CTHA, for those of us that have not been able to get this far or are directly seeing, CTHA is FEMA's continued temporary housing assistance. This is, in short term, FEMA's rental assistance. For this to happen, you have to make sure that you've received your initial rental when you were approved or became eligible. There's a form that needs to be completed. There's some things that you're going to need, and that's your information of where you're living prior to the fire, post-fire, some income questions, and then the proof of exhaustion. I just put this up there. It can be a little bit difficult navigating. Some of us have tried to submit forms but didn't know how to do it in its entirety. We do offer the service to walk you step by step in the center for anyone who's struggling with this. In our center, we do have one of the housing agents or the direct housing or direct leasing agents available in our center. I know there's, I think, one somewhere out here, the new DRC. But just for some of us that don't understand, long-term leased units are offered to survivors. The units are based on the survivor's application household size and the needs. FEMA is to match clients based on what your current housing situation may be. So if you don't have a housing solution, that's where they jump in. But if you are in a housing solution, they don't assist with that. But for one of the things that I know that's come up in some people's questions, and we get it in our office pretty often, is if I have insurance, can I still go under direct lease? There is a process on the back end. Their question, do I have to pay a portion? Yes, you have to pay the fair market rate. Okay. And I'll hand it over to Dustin.
Aloha. Our Kako'o Maui Distribution Center is at Maui Marketplace, the old Lowe's next to Seafood City. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. Right now it says by appointment only. By the end of the month, we're hoping to be open up to the public. There we have a whole range of supplies, stuff that you get from many of the other distribution sites, but we're also focusing on long-term supplies. That would be furniture. For those of you moving into a direct lease home or you're renting a home, you need furniture, we have that. Linens, toiletries, cleaning supplies, kitchen supplies. We have a whole bunch of donations, and some of the stuff is random, so you never really know what you might find in there. But to access that, email us, mauirelief@hawaiiancouncil.org. Again, to pick up, just send that email. We'll schedule a time for you to come and pick it up. Right now, we have some staff members that are going to help you shop through the distribution center, get your order ready, bring it out to your car in the parking lot. There are certain donations that we have that have a specific intention and are intended for a specific population. So we can't promise that everything will be available to everyone, but again, we have our staff there to help you go through that process. If we can't get it to you, we'll make sure to find you another resource for that. We don't do delivery at this time, but there are community partners that may be able to help you, especially transporting larger furniture. And then for our homeowner rebuild, like she said, we're working with the AIA, the American Institute of Architects, Maui chapter, and the construction industry of Maui. At helpingmaui.org/rebuild, you'll see a whole bunch of plans that were donated by architects here on Maui at they're either free or at a very reduced rate. If you're working with an architecture firm that is through our center, our website, they'll take care of the permitting and planning process for you as well. We'll also be able to connect you to financing options, different banks, loan officers, and programs specific to impacted families, as well as local contractors. Again, with all of those different resources, we'll help you plan your vision, your budget, get your documents ready, make it a one-stop shop for all of those families whose lots have been cleared. You got that capital C. Again, come to us at the Resource Center or helpingmaui.org. You'll find those pre-designed plans. These are some of the examples. So Pili Design Build, what was the other one? Hawaii Off-Grid, Maui Architectural Group. Again, these are all community-based architecture firms that are donating their time and resources, and these are just some of the examples. All right, and we'll save that for later.
So just before we start the question and answer phase, I did forget one question that people have been asking me. So Mahina allowed me to start off the question and answer phase. And so the first question, and I've been getting it from a bunch of people, is there an opportunity to reassess hazard trees? Some of the folks in the Baby Beach area think that the coconut trees there are thriving now and they don't want to see them removed unnecessarily, as well as around the Moku'ula area, some of the lolu is scheduled for removal, and those are actually endangered and 50-year-old trees. And so they were wondering if there's an opportunity to reassess some of the hazard trees, if they look like they're thriving now, if you know, they don't have to be removed, especially our endangered lolu trees.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I'd answer that question by saying maybe, which is not a great answer, but we did have all the trees assessed by our local arborists who know the trees. I acknowledge the trees are living, and sometimes they're fighters, and they might survive. So I think if we can get if they can direct those questions to our call center, we can take a look, at certain neighborhoods. I don't want to go out and look at every single tree out there, but if there's a neighborhood in particular, we can try to reassess those with a local arborist. No promises. Again, we constantly balance public safety and trees sometimes look healthy, but they aren't healthy. They're just trying to survive and drive to grow. It's a survival mechanism for the trees. But we will certainly look at certain, especially if the ones that are on the Moku'ula, we're happy to take a look at those. So.
Thank you, Council Member, and thank you, Colonel. We're going to go ahead with our Q&A session. We have two microphones. We ask that you raise your hand, and we're going to run the microphone through. I see in the front row here, followed by the two women there. We'll start here first, and then we'll go there. Go ahead, ma'am. Thank you. And before you begin, just a couple of reminders, because we're also live streaming, speak into the microphone so that we can hear it clearly, and be respectful of other people who have questions. So we don't want to wrestle you for the microphone, but we ask that you limit your questions, let other people ask their questions, and we can get back to you if you have more. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, so I actually have a question for the colonel. Different way to ask about the tree, the opposite. I'm from Waikuli, and we had a big tree of monkey pod, which was leaning on the tree. We cut it just before the fire, and there is big tree trunk literally sitting on the ground. When you guys cleared our property, the lady told me that they won't be able to move it, even though it's all burnt. They did move the car, the boat, everything else, but they did left it there because they said they won't be able. So I'm wondering if it's about health-wise, and the tree trunk is all
In a red shirt, and give us your address, your name, and your contact info. We can send someone out and take a look at it. And we'll see how it was characterized. So, thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, it seems to be the night for trees. Hi, I'm Annie Wilder, 367 Front Street, and my right of entry was taken care of. Your crew did an amazing job back in February. I'm stuck with a label on my lot that's, they say I have hazardous trees. I have no trees. 3 different people have been down, the tree covering. You may have even been approached. The gentleman, Kelly O'Mara went down there with me today.
Okay.
And so my question is, I'm scared that this piece of paper has gotten stuck somewhere saying I have hazardous trees and I don't have any, and I can't move forward because I can't get the big C. So one of the young ladies over there in your debris removal does have my name, but I've reached out. My neighbors have reached out to you. The tree, so
376 front.
no, 367.
367 front. Got it.
Thank
So
you, Frank.
367 front. My debris mission manager's giving me the thumbs up. We will take a look at it and get that property unstuck for you. Yes.
So this might
Trees?
be for you. No, but it might be for you.
Okay.
I'm just curious, how long is the process to get the all clear paperwork from the county in our hands? Is it mailed to us and so that we can start the permitting process?
So when you get to capital C, that basically means that we've turned all of the paperwork. There's two sections of paperwork. Some of it goes to FEMA, and I say paperwork in the digital sense, and then some of it goes to the county. When that goes to the county, you can then go to 4-Leaf, and they'll have that on file, as I understand it.
You actually can submit before your completion. We just can't issue. So if you want to get in the queue and get the clock ticking, we just can't issue until completion. So don't wait.
Thank you, Regina. And these 2 first questions were related to trees. So I want to remind you to use a microphone. Folks online are asking what the question was. Please raise your hand if you have a question. Go ahead. Hi, Uncle. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Councilwoman Tamara and Mayor Beeson for their feedback. But what my question would be is, from all that information that you have brought back, do you have a team ready to guide the community rebuilding, or how would that be addressed to the general public and the community, so we have some sort of guidance through that experience?
My understanding, and the mayor and his team can correct me if I'm wrong, is that this neighborhood meetings is meant to gather input from the community so that when they do make that plan and that guidance, it includes feedback from the community. I believe from coming back from Japan, Miss Teagarden, who went with us, was going to convene the delegation to talk about next steps, and that hasn't happened yet. But I'm sure the mayor has a wealth more knowledge than I do.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question. So Josiah Nishita is heading up our Office of Recovery. Uh, the person who went along is his assistant Office of Recovery, Keanu Lauhi. So the idea was to bring that information back so we could incorporate that into our long-term. It's not something that's going to happen right away. I think most of what we learn, where to go for questions that we have, people who have experienced this already. Honestly, I don't think we were able to capture all the information that they were trying to, get to us. But making those contacts, as council member talked about earlier in her presentation, David Nguyen, who is going to be working with Army Corps of Engineers, I believe, over on Oahu, he's ready to bring some of those speakers over here to Maui to try to, instead of sharing a few people, sharing with a few people, sharing with, a broader audience. So for me, this is just the beginning, but it's going to help us in the long run, in the long term. And again, not to put Josiah on the spot, but with the Office of Recovery, the whole intention is for us to be able to incorporate best practices into how we consider evacuation routes, how we prepare for disaster and not wait until it happens. I mean, nobody waits. Everybody has some kind of a plan. But what can we do specifically for each of our towns? Lahaina, Paia, Makawao, the different communities that need that. So it's a longer term plan.
Thank you. Yeah, my only thing was that you folks have the knowledge because you folks going out there and we're here. So everything is what we think. Everything is like what we think, but what is what we think, because it has to have more footage than that, yeah. So that's why my thought was, if there was, a way to communicate these guidelines or whatever you have experienced outside.
Yeah, we're trying to be prepared. We're trying to prevent the next one, prepare for the next one. Those are the idea. That was a main point of us going to learn from them.
Okay, thank you.
No,
But
thank you.
my next kind is, wait, can I speak a little bit more?
You get ranked, Uncle.
Okay, thank you.
You
Mia.
come every week, and
Hey, thank you, Mia.
so we know
I'd
you.
like to thank Kukui. I know her from small kid time she's growing up, and for her to stand here and offer her help and her guidance with things that I thought of in my mind, that needed help for those people who did not have that opportunity to receive, monetarily or financial way that they were helping people. I really thank you for that, and it makes me proud to have somebody from Lahaina growing up, and I think your partner too, yeah, Lahaina, yeah. So it really gives me great pleasure and pride to thank you folks for being part of our recovery. Thank you very much.
Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would add is I think it was covered very well. Seeing. Oh, sorry. So, hello, everybody online. I think seeing communities in different stages of recovery is very helpful because, obviously we're still in the thick of the beginning of this process. And other staff has gone to see states and communities that have completed, in essence, their recovery process. And as Mayor relayed, Japan is still kind of in the midst of it. But what it does set forward is kind of that long-term visioning. Obviously, the actions that we take today have ramifications onto outcomes into the future. And so seeing the decision points that they made along the way, the programs that were put in place, what outcomes have come out of that for their residents, for their communities. And then on the backside of it for other communities that have completed the recovery process, understanding things that we should avoid or pitfalls to stay away from so that we can ensure the recovery process is as smooth and as quickly as possible for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Josiah. We're going to go to a question here, and Kamali, you have one up there. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Mine is for permitting through Four Leaf and so our property's in the SMA area, yes. And you said that you'll handle the beginning and then it just goes to the planning department. Has any process at the planning department been implemented to fast track properties for Lahaina or give priority in planning department? Is there any sort of fast track there that we know of?
It is my understanding that, yes, they are working on a plan to find a path for expediting. And I do think that they're talking about minor and major SMA. So they're still in those conversations. I know there's supposed to be meetings with property owners or meetings here for SMA and historical district. But yes, those conversations are happening, and we are sending a weekly report from Four Leaf from Recovery Center to planning with a flag that we have routed it to them. So they are asking for that so that they can track it.
Thank you, Regina. Go ahead on the top there. Your question.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I have two questions. But first of all, before I ask my questions, I would like to thank Mayor Bison for taking care of us during our transition period from the hotel going back to our house. Thank you so much, Mayor. I have so much problem going back to the house, but I just made a phone call to the office of the mayor, and right after that, they fixed the road. We're good right now. Thank you so much, Mayor. Now my first question is, how long is it going to process the ADU permit? I have submitted my permit back in February to have an additional dwelling unit on the back of my house to house my family members who are still staying at the hotel right now. I went to the permitting division and they told me to wait. The time that they give me is 6 to 8 months. The reason behind that is their backlog. So how can I help my family member? I'm trying to help them as much as I can to house them, but the permit is making it too long. My question is there any way to expedite it?
Your permit was submitted to the county side, correct? Did you? I think I talked to you when you came in the office. No, okay, different one. Did you submit prior to us, prior to Recovery Center opening?
Yeah. I submitted to the county because according to them, I do not qualify to submit to Four Leaf.
Oh. So she wants to do an additional unit. Got it.
Well, my property is located at the burn zone, just below the bypass.
So it is in the burn zone?
It is in the burn zone.
So maybe when we're done, do you want to talk to me, or do you have some information maybe?
Let me just say for everyone to clarify, your home is in the impacted area,
Yes.
but it was not
It was
eligible
not
for the
burned down,
program.
but I'm in the burn
Yes.
zone.
So the rapid permitting or the Four Leafs Permitting Center is primarily stood up to help homes that were burned in the fire. They entered the core program, had all the paperwork done, and are ready for a permit. That's one that, and your home, because was not impacted by the fire, is sort of the exception. That's the gap she's trying to highlight, and that's not my lane.
Okay. Well, so the county has approved, if you're in the burn zone and the fire even touched your property or burnt the grass, you are approved to come through the Recovery Permit Center. So that's why I think we should talk after, because I'd like to know who you're talking to, where did the 6 months come from, because it's not us. And then I need to know where is your permit in the process so I can take a look. Okay.
Thank you.
Just a point to add on to
Oh, go ahead.
hers. Tomorrow in Tom Cook's Water and Infrastructure Committee, we are hearing legislation to extend the temporary dwelling structure permit. Right now, it's 180 days. It's been proposed to allow the temporary dwelling structure to last for 5 years. So that's what we're gonna be talking about tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the committee, and you're all welcome to testify or send in e-comment. The link will be at mauicounty.us/agendas. If you look at the June 6th WAI committee, you can submit testimony whether you oppose or support that legislation.
Thank you, Council Member. Go ahead. Over here.
Hi,
Go ahead, ma'am.
thank you all. Now, I would say as well, for everything that's being done, I'm impressed that people are here doing it every single day. My question is for Four Leaf and has to do with permitting. Actually, no, it has to do with the plans. You mentioned that there are 3 or 4 different architect groups that have been involved in plans, or is this for Kako? Hi, okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so my question is, because you mentioned the different groups that have submitted plans, are these already approved plans that can be submitted? Or do they have to have CAD designs later on?
They're already approved, yeah.
They're already
Yeah,
approved?
so once you work with that architect, the designs are approved, they'll push you right through the permitting process.
Okay, and my other question, if they'd have to be redesigned or something would come up that's a question, is that something that Kako helps provide funding on for the?
As far as I'm concerned right now, all of the architects working with our office directly are offering their time to, tweak
Thank
the
you.
designs for your property specifically.
Thank you. And then this is about ADUs. Would that go to Four Leaf maybe? I'm not sure. Can you put an ADU on your property if it's permitted by the special permitting office while you rebuild your main house? Is that? Okay?
Yes,
Okay.
I think there's zoning issues and setbacks, things to always think about, but it is my understanding that yes, you can.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Go ahead, Kamalu, on the top there.
Aloha. I have 2 questions, one for Army Corps and one for Four Leaf. Army Corps, what is the approximate time from the debris removal completion to getting a closeout package?
Shouldn't exceed 60 days. We try to do it faster. It depends on if your soil sampling comes back and we need to do a rescrape. Takes about 15 days to get your soil testing results back. If you need a rescrape, then we got to get you on that list. That could take 5 to 10 days, and then we'll do a soil sample, and then we'll schedule you for erosion control. So I would say a maximum of 60 days. It could be as fast as 15 or 20. It just depends on how fast we get your test results back and what they say initially.
Which brings me to Four Leaf. I have a 5th wheel trailer that I'd like to put on the property, but of course you cannot do that until you receive the closeout package, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then if I have water, sewer, and electric already taken care of, and I do not need to hook up to anything with the county, do I need a permit?
Yes, you probably need a temporary permit. I'll give you my card and then we can talk and give us a call. And
Thank you.
We'll answer your questions.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead to the gentleman here.
This might probably be for a four-leaf, but might boil over to the mayor. And this is a lot of questions that I've been getting also. You want everything one time or you want to go back and forth?
Forley?
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Okay, so how much is a permit? About how much?
It depends on your valuation. You pay, I can't answer that right this second. It really
Okay.
depends on your valuation of the total project. And it's broken down into plan review fees and then permit fees at issuance.
Is that 1,000, 3,000?
So what I'm seeing here, fees are really low here compared to California, where I come from. But I've seen anything from like 400 to 3,000. So
Okay.
it depends on the size of the building and the cost of the construction.
And then who's paying for your services?
We have a contract, Four Leaves? We're contracted with the County of Maui DSA department.
Okay.
So my guess is.
Just people are asking, why are we paying for the permit? But if the permit is paying for your services,
Yes,
then I
that is-
understand. But if
that
we're
is
getting
correct.
subsidized by the federal government to pay for your services, then that'll be double dipping, and we all know we can't do double dipping. So we just want to make sure that the money we are paying is paying for your services. You're not getting paid for something else, and then we're going to pay the permit. And that's
Got
just
it.
a question that everybody's
Yeah.
asking me because they want to get it for free. But if it's something that's paying for this service, then I understand.
It is.
Okay,
Thank
That's-
you.
That was my question.
We'll go ahead to the top there. Is it Uncle Earl? Earl, go ahead.
Aloha. Aloha. My question, I think, Tamara, you brought up about the temporary permitting. So I went to the permitting office, and to get a temporary permit, you go to the county office, and then to get to Four Leaf, they're in another office down the aisle. So is that still so that if we want a temporary permit versus our expedited permit is two different things?
I'm not sure about the answer to that, but the legislation is based on that there was already in the code provision for temporary dwelling structures that was 180 days. So we just took that section of the code and said within the Lahaina burn zone, it could extend to 5 years. We didn't touch the process by which the temporary dwelling structure permit is issued or not. We could discuss it tomorrow if it's a possibility. But maybe Josiah knows more about the temporary dwelling structure permit process. I was just taking existing code and saying within the Lahaina burn zone, it could last up to 5 years before a renewal because I had a lot of complaints about the 180 days. As far as the process by which you apply for it, I'm not sure if we can change that and give it over to Four Leaf as well. These two guys would know better than me.
Thank you. For the temporary structure permits, and I consulted with Four Leaf too, but the permitting aspect of that lies with the county right now. We are working with Four Leaf, and I can't have a timeline for you right now, but we're trying to work with them on having processes in place in order for Four Leaf to be able to administer for that for us in the disaster impact area. And then the county would continue to maintain the permitting of temporary structures outside of the impact area. So that process is ongoing, and we hope to get that resolved soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Josiah. We'll go ahead to Junior here, and then the gentleman right in the middle. Oh, there by you, Kamalo, and then the gentleman. Go ahead, Junior.
Yeah, answer my phone, then we can talk more. But my question gonna be first one is to you, Mayor. You and the governor will make an emergency proclamation to speed up all this building, yeah. So now that we're in this situation, and we need homes to be built quicker, yeah. A bunch of us Lahaina people, community people, when try get the process going in August. So we try to use the emergency proclamation that you and make, and the governor will make. But we got all kind of red tape to it, yeah, from your department and the recovery department, Wendy Talmodo. And this 10 months, yeah, no. And then what I said at the county council, you brought them up yesterday. We all got to work together. We said this from day one when you guys would come marching here with the president. Work together. Listen to Lahaina. Yeah, come work together. Hey, General, I'm a baseball player too. I coached for 30 years. I coached in our last team for West Maui. And all the teams, I got to put them all together for make one team. So I got to put all the guys that challenge each other all year for come together for play one weekend. So I got to put all those attitudes together now, yeah? And that's what I want. We want to see from you, Mayor. Josiah, because since she's the recovery kind of people. I've been trying to call for you months, yeah? Trying to get into you guys. Frustration is high, yeah? So my question is, how can we speed up all these permitting for the ADUs and all for, I seen the mayor put, we can have 2 on one property. I follow all this kind of stuff, okay? I don't know how you guys can help us, and because we've been trying to do them since August 9th. So we're trying to ask you guys, get out of our way. Because we get land out there, yeah, in Kahana. Yeah, we get choke land. That we build on them. We put our Kanakas on top. We put our Hawaiians on top. But when we come to your department, we get shut down. But how are we going? I tried using the emergency proclamation. So please explain to me how we can use what you guys say you guys are going to do. I take the governor to court. I lost them. So still get the emergency proclamation. Well, let's use the damn thing for take care of us. I have one more question after.
Okay. So let me first explain the governor, his emergency proclamation is separate from mine. He has one that he issued. I have one that I issued. He can control the state laws. I don't control the state laws, county laws. Without getting into too much specifics, many people wanted to have offered to help us in the county in a lot of different ways. I hope you guys agree in general with the way this has proceeded. We needed their help to clear the lots. We needed people's lots cleared. We needed to find an emergency disposal site, a long-term disposal site. We can go on and on about infrastructure and about water. You folks have water challenges out here that you've always had that many of you know about. Even right now, as we talk about water, there's a allotted amount of water that exists for Lahaina town, for the areas that have all been impacted. We can open up other places. That water is going to come from someplace. When you guys are ready to move back to your homes, we can shut down the water that we opened up for other places at that time and give you your water back. We don't have extra water. We don't have more water. You guys have the same amount of water now that you have. Now we are exploring wells, just so you know, we are exploring wells. But a big limitation, and the reason you guys haven't built another 5,000 units out here by now is because you don't have the water and the infrastructure. You got to figure out where is the sewer going to go. A lot of you guys that are from Wahikuli, you guys got some news that the EPA is going to be helping with trying to hook you guys up to county sewer instead of cesspools, or instead of having to go to septic. I guess what I'm saying indirectly, Junior, to answer your question, is it's not just do you have land, Do you have land that you can put something on? What are you going to do about the roads? What are you going to do about the sewer? What are you going to do about the water? What are you going to do about the power? Those are very real questions. We have people that work under Josiah, John Smith. You guys have heard John Smith address you before. You kind of miss him. He's like 6'9" or 6'7". But he's the guy that used to work out in Lahaina, and he helps with the public works, highways. Every day they meet on infrastructure. What are the infrastructure challenges and the needs for the areas that were already built, that are already in place? So, I guess it's a matter of prioritizing. Do we want to just put something up fast that you might have to take away later? A lot of people offering to bring in modular homes. People from Olowalu, Launiopoko, all the way to Kapalua want to just put stuff up. I don't know how you guys feel about your community. It's your guys' community. If you just want everything popped up wherever there's a space, put one up, put one up, put one up. We're trying to address this in, I think, a holistic way. In a way, for some people, it's too slow. You're not moving fast enough. I don't know. They're way ahead of schedule on the debris cleanup. And they're way ahead of schedule because they were able, we've eminent domain the space, the final place where we're going to put this up at Central Maui landfill. There's a whole bunch of lawsuits just for that one issue by itself. And I'm not telling you to feel sorry for the county for anything, but I'm just letting you know there's a lot of moving parts right now going on. But yes, I agree with you. There is open land in Kahana. There's open land in Napili. There's open land in Kapalua, because almost everybody with open land has approached us to talk about it, to get rezoned. We can put them up for you right now. All I'm going to tell you right now is when you guys' homes are done being built, you're going to want water turned on to your homes. I'm going to want that for you. So we can make the choice now to divert the water and give it to someone else, and then see who gets water when it finally comes, which is why we're doing a lot more temporary. We have the authorization to make temporary homes, the temporary modular homes, the Klaiola, the Kilohana projects that are coming up. They're not permanent because we're not be able to sustain the water that's needed for that. So, we're trying to make the best decisions that hurt the least amount of people in doing them. But that's all I can say.
Yeah,
Sorry, one more.
just
And
to
then we're
talk
gonna
sorry
go
about the water. Yeah. How much of the water is owned by private entity?
75% of your
That's
guys'
the
water.
problem. Okay. Yeah. Shoot. Now the question I like to talk about is you guys will go Japan, yeah, like Uncle was saying. You guys bring back one plan. You guys talk about building one core people. If you guys gonna build something for Lahaina, to get the Lahaina people who live in the dry areas, who live in Kaula Valley, who live this place, who've been
We
through
took
two fires,
Tamara and we took Kim. We took Lahaina.
for build a new team that you guys thinking of building to move on, to move forward. Go waste your time, go there and come back. No, do nothing.
Hey, Junior, I'm going to tell you something.
What I'm saying is build a team of all-stars. They put one shortstop at Techa. Okay? Put the right people in the place. As I say, put the Lahaina people like Kai Keahi, like Jeremy. You talk to all of them.
They're
Put
all
the
part of the
Kanakas.
team. They're all part of the team.
Okay,
Hey, I
that's
want
what
you
I'm
guys
saying.
to
That's all
record
I
this.
want you-
I want you
that's
guys to
all I
record this. Junior, we agree. How's that? We agree on that. We agree. For sure.
Okay, we'll go to that question, and a gentleman in the middle. Go ahead, ma'am.
I guess my question would be to the mayor because of the infrastructure as far as getting out of Lahaina. We still have just one way out of Lahaina. And the biggest problem after the fire was how are we going to get the people out of here because we don't have electricity in this side. We don't have medicine for the people that needed it. Is there any plan to build the road, the backside past Kapalua, Kahakaloa, any of that to be improved so that there's another way out of Lahaina?
Maybe I don't understand all of that. You mean to improve the road through Kahakuloa? Because there already is a road. Are you talking about changing that?
Is the road all paved all the way through that
No.
people can use it?
No, it's not.
That's what I'm talking about.
So that's what you're asking, to improve the road.
Yeah.
You know, I guess that's a question we're gonna have to talk to the state about. I don't know how much of that is state highway, that's Ed Sniffen DOT, and how much of that is county. But I wanted to say something about the roads. Pretty soon, we'll be done with the debris cleanup. And we do want to talk about alleviating traffic for you folks by trying to open up Honoapi'ilani, at least at certain hours of the day when you folks get peak. I know the kids are out of school right now, but obviously they'll be back in school come August, I guess it will be. So I just want you to know that we have been having some serious conversations about that because we get a lot of feedback. Right, Lori Leidigama? We get a lot of feedback about traffic coming out of Lahaina, especially right now. We saw it, we see it when we come in. But trying to go to Honoapi'ilani right now would be one challenge because of all the large trucks and equipment. I don't know how many crews, 30 crews maybe, are working somewhere around there. Yeah, 40 maybe. So that's a lot, and we don't want to endanger anyone. But the quicker we can get done with the debris cleanup, which is why the colonel keeps saying, get those ROEs from your friends and family so we can get those cleaned up. We can at least move all of that out of there and concentrate on having trucks with 2x4s and plyboard coming in to build your guys' homes. But we know that the traffic, I'm not even talking about Kahakuloa right now. I'm just talking about coming out of Lahaina, going up Keawe or going through Honoapi'ilani. We got people on it right now trying to figure out ways, either adjusting the hours, the times, or eventually opening up that road. We think that'll bring a lot of relief. Even now, people coming down Hokiokio or coming down Kapuna Kea or some, whatever other roads we can try to divert. The colonel talked about some of that earlier as they're going to build units up in Kalaio'ola as well as Kilohana. Those units. We're thinking a lot about the impacts that traffic is having. So I just wanted to answer you in a general way. I don't have any specifics about completing the bypass. I know that's an Ed Sniffen question. We want that to happen. We want the bypass to be completed. As far as widening Kahakuloa, I think that's going to require some conversation. So thank you for your question.
Thank you, Mayor. We're going to go to this gentleman. Then I have an online question I'm going to ask, and then we'll go here to this side. I do want to address the Kahakuloa question a little bit. So the state DOT director, Ed Sniffen, will be here in a couple of weeks. He'll be attending this meeting. He can give an update. With regards to Kahakuloa, it would also mean the need to talk to the community of Kahakuloa, just out of respect and courtesy for what they go through each time as well when we try to access that area. So go ahead, sir, and then I'll do my question.
I
gonna
think
ask
the
you-
Army Corps of Engineers is doing a really a great job, and I'm happy to see that. And I also am getting information that along Komamai Street that we're starting to get some building permits.
Right into the microphone, sir.
Oh, can't hear me? I'm sorry. I'm understanding that Komamai Street is starting to get building permits, and I'm really happy for those guys. I live in Kahua Mill Camp, and my question is the county any closer to figuring out whether they're going to improve the infrastructure that is about 100 years old, widening streets and making it safe again, or whether we're going to go ahead and just rebuild the homes on it? If that's the case, I'm okay either way, but I'd really like to know because if I can rebuild my home, I want to get busy with it as soon as I get the capital C.
We're looking at Josiah Nishita from Office of Recovery.
Okay, before I answer the question, I just gotta feel like I gotta say something for our Kahakuloa community because every meeting I've ever been to, they are very concerned about traffic impacts and whatnot. So as Mahina suggested, we wouldn't want to do anything without consulting the community. And the other piece too, just related to overall traffic impacts, our Maui Emergency Management Agency and other agencies working with them, such as our Maui Police Department and others, are looking to scale back as properties are cleared from the checkpoint areas, which will help alleviate some traffic concerns, as well as our teams, as Mayor indicated. We are shooting for as much as possible some level of access through Honopilani Highway, shooting for around the time that schools reopen. So that's our goal right now, in the fall, and we'll continue to update the community as we get closer. And I'm sorry, after I said that, I forgot what the question was. Oh, I'm sorry, Millcamp. Okay, yes. So in that area, we've had work significantly with fire department and our Maui Emergency Management Agency to identify different areas throughout the community. And I believe if they haven't already, probably our Maui Emergency Management Agency will be out at some point to be able to update the community on some of the results of the evacuation modeling that took place, to be able to identify areas that were identified for improvement. In addition to our fire department helped us to try to identify some substandard roadway areas and other areas that should be interconnected for potential evacuation routes. And a good plug here and other opportunities for the community to provide feedback in is efforts like that or suggestions like that. If you have particular areas you want identified, that'd be good to share with our teams. Specific to Kuhua area, we are in some discussions right now that we're not able to disclose at the time, but we will come back to the community at a future point regarding some potential opportunities in that area that we're in discussions with landowners about, specifically related to the Kuhua Street property. And then there's also some other areas that were identified, one in particular up in that Kilauea Moka area along Aki Street and some of those other roadways throughout the Mill Camp area that could potentially be identified for some type of improvement to improve evacuation routes and emergency access.
Thank you, Josiah. Mayor, want to add? And then I have a question for Colonel.
Sorry, so I wanted to just say that there are many strategies available to improve evacuation. And this is something that we're spending a lot of time on because obviously it needs to be done. One of them is widening the roads. Another is to allow one-way traffic on some of the roads. Another way is to not allow parking on the roads, or maybe only on one side. That's probably the most challenging one because we all know when it comes to saying no parking on the street, everybody on that street says, oh, they're talking about the other guy. They're not talking about my car. I can park on this street. The other guy's not supposed to park here. I mean, so we understand the challenges that come with some of those options. But believe me when I say we are working with other communities and I would say vendors who understand this very real problem on dealing with evacuation safety. But one of them might include, as Josiah just said, asking people for a land swap where their property might be right at a corner or a place where we would need to make some changes. I hope as a community, you folks would agree that that's the way to go, which is to make your community safer going forward and not just throwing something back up there the way it was. Because if we don't make any changes, then we shouldn't expect to be any safer than we were before. So we understand this is one of the challenges because these are very real. People own their property. They have attachment to their property, you know. We understand that. So it's not an easy discussion. But if we have people that are willing to talk with us and work with us, then we can make it safer for the whole community. And that's the goal. And those are also the challenges at the same time. It's not that we don't see them. It's that it's going to require a little bit more discussion. So I thank you for your patience in saying, hey, if you guys are going to do it, I'll hold off. If you're not going to do it, you know, I'm ready to go. I think that's probably the sentiment of your community. So we're asking a lot of you folks to hang in there with us so that we can come out with that plan. So mahalo for your question. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. I have an online question for Colonel. What is the timeline on the completion of debris cleanup?
What is the timeline for the completion of the debris mission? We anticipate being done in January of 2025. We will likely be done most of residential before that, but as we're finding out, there could be some properties that have RV challenges, and we're waiting to get them. So there could be some that stretch us out a longer, and we're not making the same numerical change or progress in commercial that we are in residential. And that part of that is because commercial are multiple. Some of these are multi-acre lots. They're far more complex than a quarter of an acre of a third of an acre lot. So the numbers aren't moving up as fast, and that's part of that's just because they're bigger lots. They're more complicated, a lot more concrete. So we're going to give ourselves, the full time on that. But we hope to be done meaningfully complete before that. But that's the mark on the wall. I don't know if that answered the online question or not.
Yes, thank you, Colonel. We'll go back to the bleachers here. Go ahead, sir.
My question is for the mayor. Sorry. All right, Mayor. It's very apparent that the permitting department's the toll gate for our rebuilding. And
Sir, right into the mic.
Everybody keeps talking about speeding up the permitting department, and we all know that the permitting department's the toll gate for our rebuilding. I was really excited when Four Leaf was coming in that it was going to hopefully accelerate this. I was thinking that they were going to actually be able to approve permits, but it sounds like they're just a middleman. Are you actually staffing people in the permitting department and hiring more people that can accelerate this? Because it seems like the Four Leaf program is only going to increase the backlog and make us wait longer. Are you actually posting jobs and hiring people in the permitting department?
Well, let me start by saying I'm not able to agree with your premise that Four Leaf is dragging it on, because that's not at all. They're giving people building permits to go out and build. And if that's the ultimate goal, then that's exactly what they're doing. We haven't hired more people. We're hiring. I mean, we're hiring at the county, seriously. Our issue is not staffing up our normal permitting office, planning. Our goal is to go with Four Leafs expedited, whether you're asking for a temporary permit or a permanent one. So why are you thinking that they're like a middleman or a stall?
Well, the speech earlier was that they were handling a packet or paperwork and then passing that on to get stamped by the county. Are they actually approving permits, or are they?
I think we might have to put their stats back up again, because that might be better to go back with what they were presented earlier, but go ahead.
No, we are approving. What I meant, we have a team of 32 plans examiners virtually. Our plans examiners are stamping the project, and we're issuing the permits. The only time we have to route to, and I know when I say only, that's 60-70% of Lahaina, I understand. But the only time we're routing back to the county is in those situations, and that's usually planning. And then multifamily and non-residential, they do have to go back through the regular county process, but we will be doing the intake and the issuance. And so we are stamping plans.
Thank you, sir. We're going to go to the top there and then back down to the gentleman and then here. Go ahead on the top.
My name is Ramona Aki. I'm born and raised in Lahaina. I have two questions. One, when is MECO going to start putting poles in the burn zone? Like I see on Lahaina Luna Road, but if you're off of Lahaina Luna Road, like I'm Kale and Aki Street, there were poles that are no longer there. And I understand we have to go underground from the road, but when is MECO going to be putting their poles back so we can get electricity when we're able to rebuild?
We'll see if Josiah can help with that. Our infrastructure team isn't here this evening. Josiah?
Yeah, and I mean, at some point it'll probably be good to have HECO themselves speak to you folks directly, but specifically regarding that question, I think all indications that we've received from HECO has been that when homes are being built and ready to be restored, that power will not be an issue to be restored to those properties. Obviously, they're going to have to prioritize areas just like we are with water, service return and wastewater return and whatnot. And so they're making those decisions too. But my understanding too, and I don't want to speak on behalf of them, but my understanding is that they are able to set up temporary power to sites too when your contractors are ready to begin, even if permanent power is unable to be restored to the property until the home is ready to be completed. So my understanding is that will not be a bottleneck in your overall recovery effort of rebuilding your property.
This one has nothing to do with rebuilding, but why are the parasailers? I've talked to certain tourists and they have a GoPro on and videotaping while they're on that parasail, Lahaina town. They were never parasailing there before. And now you see 3. Today I saw 3 alone, just in the middle of Lahaina town, parasailing with the GoPros on, videotaping our Lahaina town, our tragedy.
Well, so in terms of unauthorized, I guess videotaping and whatnot, especially in the immediate aftermath of the fire, did maintain no flight zones, and our teams constantly monitor for unauthorized entry, and especially we don't want people participating in so-called disaster tourism or things like that. Specific to that question, the parasailing companies and others are regulated by other entities, and so we will have to follow up with those entities to see what regulations or restrictions that they could put in place to ensure that those types of activities don't happen.
Could you see me after? I'd like a little bit more information on parasailing that you have, so we can go back to the industry. We're going to go here to the gentleman, and then there's another. We're going to go to someone who hasn't asked a question yet before we turn to you. So, sir, and then Kamal, come up right down here in the blue, and then here. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I'm not sure if this is for the Mayor Bisson, but I have some really big concerns about what Lahaina town is actually really going to look like. There's a lot of my neighbors and people that are moving off island because of the fear of what it's going to look like, and it's not going to be looking like the Lahaina that we all know. And I hear a lot of emphasis on for home rebuilding, and which is fantastic, but I haven't heard a whole bunch about businesses, which are going to need to be there for the people to have businesses to pay for their homes and the infrastructure that way. I know you're going to have issues with the tide rise. It sounded great with the cut and fill to go ahead and we can go ahead and put the Lahaina back if it has to come up a little bit higher, a foot higher or whatever. You can put the pylons back the way they were. We just did the pier, so that shouldn't be any hindrance that way. And if anything, the businesses there, they have to step up, a couple of feet to go into them. But the look and the feel of Lahaina, the way it was, is what brought the tourism and the tourism dollars here. And if that's not here, a lot of people are fearful, and that's one of the reasons why they're leaving the island too. And I hate to say it, if it doesn't really look like that, that was my draw why I came here. I might have to be on that boat also, and I sure as heck don't want to do that. On what are the hurdles that you're, in order to do that, what are the hurdles that you're gonna, you're having that maybe we can help with, maybe to get over that?
Okay, there's a lot of questions in there. I'll try to remember everything, and then if Mayor wants to add anything. So the county and state are working collectively with a variety of private industries in the Economic Recovery Commission, and I believe at least a draft report will be due in September to identify economic reinvestment, diversification efforts, and other development activities that can take place. We're working hand in hand with the EDA. The really two I guess I could call life-changing sources of funding for the community in terms of economic diversification and development efforts will come from funding from the EDA, which we've been working closely with them. Unfortunately, Congress hasn't funded them fully yet, and so we're waiting for that appropriation to be made so that we can tap into significant source there. And then the second piece is CDBG, or Community Development Block Grant disaster relief funding. And the county has made a request for that. And a component of that, there's 3 areas that can be funded through that, through HUD, and that's housing infrastructure and economic development. So those are going to be the 2 biggest sources of funding that we can really make like community changing decisions and actions and implementation towards reinvestment in, as you talk about the commercial side. On the concern about people leaving and whatnot, that's exactly why we're trying to speed up and working with our federal partners on clearing lots and approving permits and getting infrastructure back in place so that people can continue to stay and live here. We've relayed this many times to our partners. Maui County is significantly different, I think, than other communities that have experienced disasters in the past because we measure our success differently than they do. Our success really is driven by, can we keep our community here? And our community can continue to raise their kids, they can continue to live and thrive here. And so we do not, all of the decisions that we're making is in further efforts towards that success measurement. And I would just note, I know that there's some of the questions I think have been around a general sentiment of the amount of time it takes for recovery. And trust me, I feel the same way a lot of times, and it keeps me up at night about how long certain things take and how the process is evolving. But one of the reasons why it's also good to talk to other communities is we recently heard from Mayfield, Kentucky, as one example. They're about 3 to 4 years into their recovery process. This year, they'll be breaking ground for their first building, about 3 to 4 years in. Some other communities in California are about 5, 6 years in, about 20 to 25% rebuilt. Took at least a few years for core infrastructure services to be restored. So while I feel the general sentiment that we can and we should be doing things better and quicker, and we need to continue to strive for those efforts because that's for our residents' benefit, it's good to keep in mind that holistic view that due to a lot of our residents' efforts and our community groups and nonprofits and our federal and state agencies and county departments, we are actually very significantly ahead in this overall recovery process, even though it may not feel like it at times. Just knowing that we have learned from other communities and we are taking their experiences and the things that they may have done wrong or the things that may have done right and trying to apply them here to the best of our ability.
Thank you, Josiah. I do want to bring up this slide. Mayor?
Sorry, I'm just going to jump in and add on to that. We absolutely see economic recovery as one of the main pillars of what we're doing. And it's not that we're not prioritizing it. We understand people need places to live in order to have places to work. We understand all the devastation that's happened. We, if you look at the CNHA represented here, their workforce development, what they've put in to train people who are actually working right now. What's happened to our economy is not that there's no economic activity. There may be less tourism, but you guys have a lot of economic activity happening right now. It's in the way of debris cleanup, and pretty soon it's going to be in the way of construction and getting those spaces back. That's not an economic activity that we had prepared or planned for. Because our plan was, there's tourism. People come for tourism. People don't come here to build homes and to clean debris. Well, now they do. Now they are. There are areas that are improving our workforce development. We meet with the folks from the economic activity part. We meet with the tourism industry. We're in a lot of meetings where everyone wants to say, how come you haven't done this yet? Let's get this built. Let's get this done. It's not that we're not considering it. We are trying to do things the best, as I said, the best we can. And I think what Josiah said just captured it all. Our main success is if every one of you get back to your homes. If we rebuild Lahaina, we are going to rebuild Lahaina. But when it's done and all the structures are built, and when those doors open and nobody recognized the faces of the people on the other side of their doors, all we did was build a bunch of buildings. That's all we did. we're very focused on who's going to be in those buildings. And that's what drives our policy right now, is how we can get our people back into their homes. And not just restore buildings, restore the heart of Lahaina. That's what it's all about. But we haven't forgotten economic activity. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Josiah. I do want to remind everybody, if you're interested, again, the last Saturday of June is the planning workshop for historic and business districts. It's one step and one part of many process that we're running simultaneously. I lost track. Kimo, you had a question. Kimo,
you.
and then
I said it before and I'll say it again. It's not going to be easy. You know, they're talking about Kakalo, make the road go on Kakalo. In my life on Maui, I went to Kakalo only 3 times. Who the hell wants to drive around Kakalo? Nobody. When I was young, they made the poly. You know, everything was cheap. So the road was cheap. Cut down the mountains, make it a little bit more straight. The leftover, they dump it into the curves. It takes about 35 minutes to go across the poly. Now it takes like 10 minutes, I guess. You can go across. The price was pennies at that time. Today, we have construction people making money. Not $30 anymore. It's close to $80 to $100 plus all the benefits they get. So at least 140. And we want to, sure, it's nice to have good things, but you can't keep asking, I want this, we need that. People are getting paid for building what they can afford. And if you want to get up there, you got to go someplace else because it's not going to happen over here. We just are local people, we're young, and us local guys take care of everything. Not too many white people was here. The white people, they were Portuguese. Other than that, we hardly have any of them in Lahaina. When they came in, it was good. The idea was to stay here only for a while and move on, sell a place. It was cheap at that time. Today, oh man, we cannot afford, anybody cannot afford, unless you're a billionaire, and we still will be down here. But it's nice to see all the different people around in Lahaina. So keep what we have, do what we can, and build what we gotta build. Other than that, move on. Aloha.
mahalo, Kimo. Ma'am, go ahead.
Thank you. I have another question to the mayor, but also to Tamara. Tamara, you were saying that you guys went to Japan to develop the AI and basically how we can prepare ourselves better when there will be another disaster, and probably there will be, because it's dry, it's hot, and there is fires. So when I evacuated, my biggest fear, I was in the car with my kids, and we were smashing almost a few times by electric and telephone pole that was very unsteady. My first question, it's by learning how we're gonna do better next time. That was the main purpose of the travel to Japan, right? I assume that there is more things that we can learn from, like, is the telephone pole, is the electric pole, are they gonna be more steady? That's first question, because that's what I remember most when we ran away from the fire. The second question that I have, and it's again about how we learn and how we do it better for next time, like the evacuation road that the mayor, I really appreciate that. We want to know what's going to be next time, how we going to do it better and safer. is the fact that all this area of Lainapoko, Uluwatu, so dry, and there is this river full with water that going right to the ocean. Is there a way, I'm a simple person, I'm not engineer, I don't know how it's work, I can only think. Is there a way to collect this river water and watering all these very dry, Lainapoko, Uluwatu, la, that the fire usually start there? Is there a way to use this water, keep it, and make everything less dry?
Thank you, Councilman.
So we were invited to Japan to learn. It wasn't just about AI. I guess I would start with what HICO, or formerly known as MICO, does is not solely up to us. I do know I had met one time with their newer CEO, and I did relay that one of the biggest things was, whether it's a steel pole, whether it's a wood pole or whatever, the biggest concern is that the poles were blocking the way in getting out. Whether they underground it or not depends on many factors. One of the factors is that the roads need to be wide enough. So if everything goes back as it is in areas like Mill Camp, Kuhua area, they will not be able to underground it. That doesn't mean that that's the only solution. If we can facilitate the residents of those areas with the smaller roads, maybe people go off-grid solar in those areas where it can't be undergrounded. We as the county do not control what HICO will do going forward, but I do know if the roads are not wide enough, it cannot be undergrounded. As far as the river water, the Hawaii State Constitution from the time of Kingdom days till today, it's very important that there's water mauka to makai for all of our stream life and our ecosystem. We are looking at ways to possibly have large fallow landowners be held accountable to keep their grass down, whether it's through grazing animals or what. Including Tuesday, we did have a conversation about the county's own lands, whether they're open space purchased or executive ordered from the state. But water is a very touchy subject that people have been fighting over in West Maui probably since the time the first missionaries arrived. And I think a better solution to diverting more stream water would be more reuse of our R1 water and better land management techniques. There's things with grazing animals that could be looked into, goats, sheep, and whatnot. The county is working on extending its R1 line, also very expensive because you have to lay pipe. I have heard Maui Land and Pine talking about extending their R1 line out north as well. So, I mean, that would be a better solution, I think, because if water is within the state's purview, not necessarily the county's purview, unless it's county water, which I think Junior clarified that we only control 25%. So other than that 25% that we control, it's under the state's purview. And because of the lack of water and the entitled developments, we are under a ground and surface water special management area because we've entitled more projects than our aquifer yield is. So I don't know if the mayor had anything more to add to that, but I guess, in some ways, having different people and layers to things is more frustrating because you can't just come to the county and get all your answers. But at the same time, the county cannot do all the jobs that the state and a private industry like HICO does. So we don't control everything. But I think if we were to try and divert more stream water to water Olowalu and Maniapoko, that would open a whole nother can of worms. And R1 water would be the way to go. And we are working on expanding that distribution of, and R1 is our recycled water. After it goes through the sewer treatment facility, it gets cleaned, and that water can be used for ag and those other things. So I'm not sure if the mayor had anything to add to that.
I'll just kind of say the obvious, that this tragedy exposed a lot of issues that were already in place in West Maui. It just brought it to the front. And so lots of people want to cure a lot of the ongoing issues or past issues all at once. And as just accurately pointed out by council member, there are things we control, there are things we don't control. That doesn't mean we can't have conversations with people, but we won't make the final decisions. Yeah, I'll just leave it there saying there's lots of issues that need to be talked about. Ownership of the water and, whether, how we handle large landowners who are responsible for their properties. How can we help them? How can they help themselves? I mean, we're open to all the ideas. Everyone is pointing out accurately all the issues that are out there. So how do we address them? We try to address all of them in whatever priority we can. So.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council Member. We'll go ahead and take one more question. Uncle here has a question. We're gonna let Uncle have the final question before we wrap. And Kaliko. Oh, Kaliko have one? Okay. Go
My-
ahead on the top.
My question is for the mayor. With regards to tourism and the economy and education, they don't have the public service announcement about the Lahaina fires in the hotels anymore. I was wondering if we can speak to some of the airlines and just do a 2-minute public service announcement about being a respectful visitor and the fires, because it's not exactly panning out very well. We've heard a lot of stories. So if that could be something that could be talked about with Hawaiian Airlines, all the airlines, because just 2 minutes of education and they're already seated. I mean, we got to fill out those agricultural papers anyway. Something could be done just to help educate our visitors, because I know it is an important part of the economy. Thank you.
Excellent idea. Thank you. Cynthia, did you get that? Thank you.
Kaliko?
I have a
and then
question
Uncle.
for summer. It's summer break and surf's up, and we want to know how we can surf and not break the law. And I'm talking about Shark Pit, I'm talking about Breakwall, I'm talking about Lahaina Harbor. I would talk about Mala, but we just take up the parking at the ramp and then we swim across to the lineup. And then Puamana, we park on the side of the road and then we swim. So how can I let my boys surf without getting arrested?
Well, so I wish I could have the exact answer for you right at this time, but what I wanted to note was that this just came up in discussion this week in requests from the community, specifically about Breakwall and some of those other areas. So our teams are actively looking into how we can accommodate community access and whatnot to make sure that we can provide that safely, as well as ensure the privacy of individuals who are impacted by the fire.
Mayor.
Have Kim Ball do another surf contest and open it up to everybody, which you guys just did one, and also your canoe regatta. But I'm sorry, Uncle, go ahead.
Uncle, go ahead. Uncle will be our last question. We've been at it for a couple of hours, and we thank our partners here from Coast Guard, Mayor, Councilmember Tamara, EPA, Office of Recovery, CNHA, and our 4-leaf recovery permitting for being here, and Red Cross as well. Uncle, your question?
Thank you for the third round, but it's not a question, more than a sharing. In about 1954, we had a discussion on, because the corridor between Lahaina and Wailuku was an issue already at that time, so I just trying to lift some of the burden of the mayor with the questions that they're poking him with. But they were talking about Atano Chulani Poco mountain or make a bypass through there and using Japan drills. But at that time, Lahaina Pua, yeah, so there were no money available, so they trashed the idea. But already the corridor at that time was a problem. So it's not your problem. Okay, I just wanted to let you know that this problem has been an ongoing problem. And for whatever it's worth, the way they even build the highway is not good because they take away all the cultural and wetlands too, yeah? So all the ama that all gone because there's no life left in the area. So if anything, I say, yeah, go through the mountain would be the fastest way, like Wilson Tunnel in Oahu and all that. Something to think about. I don't know. Okay, thank you.
Well, I say N because Uncle said not our fault for anything. Mayor, do you have any additional closing comments? Thank you, everybody. We will hang out here a little bit. Mahalo, drive safe. We will see you next week. Aloha.